প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত অর্থ সংলাপে। অর্থনীতি, শিল্প বাণিজ্যের নানা খাত উপখাত নিয়ে বিস্তারিত আলোচনার অনুষ্ঠান। আপনারা প্রতিদিনই এর সাথে থাকেন এবং দেখেন যে আমরা একটা বিষয়ের গভীরে যাওয়ার চেষ্টা করি এই অনুষ্ঠানে। আর বিষয় গভীরে যেতে আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকেন একজন বিশিষ্টজন, যিনি ওই বিষয়টির সাথে সরাসরি সংশ্লিষ্ট এবং নিয়মিত কাজ করেন তিনি। আমরা আজও একজন বিশিষ্টজনকে নিয়েছি। ইনি একজন ফরেনার, বাংলাদেশের প্রতি ভালোবাসায় বাংলাদেশে কাজ করছেন। জেরি নিকলসন। জেরি নিকলসন হচ্ছেন কিন্ডার ক্যাপিটালের ম্যানেজিং ডিরেক্টর। কিন্ডার ক্যাপিটাল যে অর্থায়নকারী ফার্ম শুধু আমরা বলবো না, এটা একটা ইন্টারন্যাশনাল অর্গানাইজেশন যারা অর্থায়ন করে গ্রামীণ উদ্যোক্তাদের। শুধু অর্থায়ন করেই বসে থাকে না, অর্থায়নের পর তাদেরকে মার্কেটিং, প্রোডাকশন, ডিফারেন্ট অ্যাঙ্গেলসে তাদেরকে সাপোর্ট দিয়ে উদ্যোক্তাকে এগিয়ে নেওয়ার যে কাজটা, সেটাই করে কিন্ডার ক্যাপিটাল। তার সাথে যে গ্রামীণ অর্থনীতি এবং গ্রামীণ উদ্যোক্তাদের সাথে কাজ করে যে বিশাল অভিজ্ঞতা, প্রায় 4.5 বছর কাজ করছেন, সেটা আসলেই শুনতে দারুণ। আমরা আর একটু ভিতরটা দেখব তার দৃষ্টিতে। জেরি নিকলসন, ইউ আর ওয়েলকাম টু 71 অর্থ সংলাপ।
Great, thank you.
Jerry Nicholson, you're working 4.5 years. It's a pretty long time. What is your experience about the Bangladesh rural economy and rural entrepreneurship?
Well, in Bangladesh, we see Bangladesh as a country of entrepreneurs. I think the entrepreneurial spirit is very strong here.
Yeah.
Both in the cities and the young people, but also in the rural areas. And we have been running an accelerator program for rural entrepreneurs called Open Accelerator. So we've had the privilege, particularly over the last year, to work with 20 really interesting, high growth potential rural entrepreneurs. I think one of the things that impressed me about the entrepreneurs in Bangladesh is their motivation to do business, but also a lot of them are very motivated to give back to their communities. So they're running their businesses as a way of providing jobs or opportunities or goods or services to the people in their communities.
What are the problems you have seen in the working with the entrepreneurs? What are the major problems they face to work with in business environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think a major problem that nearly all our entrepreneurs face is lack of access to affordable finance. So there is banking finance is there, and I know that the Bangladesh Bank has put a lot of efforts into providing some low-cost loans for priority sectors. But a lot of the businesses that we're working with are quite early-stage businesses. So they even rates of 10% are quite prohibitively expensive for many of our entrepreneurs.
Nicholson, I think as I know, you worked in Tajikistan also in the microfinance disbursement sector, and you know also the microfinance industry in Bangladesh. Do you think the capital from microfinance organizations are very good for business startup?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because Bangladesh is obviously the home of microfinance, and there's many micro entrepreneurs. But I think you need quite a different type of finance in order to start a business which is going to really grow and create jobs. It's a different type of finance that you need. And also, I think the businesses that we're working with, it's not just finance they need. A lot of them are very smart, the entrepreneurs we work with. They know their market, they know their product, but they're very hungry just for some technical assistance around just quite simple business skills.
Do you find any difference between the capital from the microfinance organizations and the capital from the organizations like you?
Yeah, so a microfinance organisation would typically lend up to maybe $1,000, that sort of level, where the businesses that we're working with are really looking to raise amounts of, say, $30,000 up to $1 million. So it's quite a different sector that we're focusing on.
Are you observing the banking sector in Bangladesh? We have some banks in rural area. Are they working rightly to support the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, and with Open Accelerator, we have a range of different businesses going through our program, and some of them just do need banking finance. So we're involving some of the Bangladeshi banks with, like BRAC Bank, DDBL, and Midas are all associated with our program.
What are the previous experience of the entrepreneurs who are supporting them? What experience they have about the banking organizations?
Well, interestingly, nearly all the entrepreneurs that are going through our program have not taken loans from banks because they see it as too expensive or too restrictive, or some of these low-cost loans are quite difficult to access. One of the things we're trying to do with Open Accelerator and also through Tinder Capital is there's a type of investor called an impact investor. I don't know if you've come across this term before.
How? The foreign impact investors or the impact investors in Bangladesh?
Well, there's foreign impact investors, but also impact investors within Bangladesh.
How? Are they showing interest to Bangladesh?
Well, at the moment, this sector is really early stage, and there's very few impact investors in Bangladesh at the moment. But that's changing, and we're seeing investors and funds starting up and starting to take an interest in Bangladesh. And so an impact investor is an investor who invests in businesses or funds, and they're really interested in they want to generate a positive social or environmental impact from their investment alongside a financial return. And this type of financing, because it's more supportive of the enterprise than a bank would be, or a typical for-profit investor, is often very appropriate for the sorts of businesses that we're working with. Because they need patient, potentially equity capital, but they also need support in other areas of their business.
How can we invite more impact investment from the global areas to Bangladesh? Should we invite them? How we can connect?
I think there's a whole range of different things that we can do. I think what we're trying to do with Open Accelerator is demonstrate that there's really great investment opportunities, because I think if investors see that, then they will come. So that's one key part of it. But those entrepreneurs need to be ready to meet an investor. And that's one of the things that we're doing with Open Accelerator, is trying to bridge that gap between a Bangladeshi rural entrepreneur who's got a good business, who's smart, but in terms of presenting his business to an investor, writing a decent business plan, really understanding the concept of equity investment. These are things which are very new, particularly for rural entrepreneurs. And these are some of the challenges that we're trying to overcome.
But there are many barriers, language barriers and the global connectivity barriers. Do you think that rural entrepreneurs will be able to connect enough impact investors?
Yeah, well, this is the $100 question, and as I sit here today, I can't give you a definitive answer. But what I can say is we've got some really interesting businesses going through our program, which gives us a great case study. So it's like a live pilot. Can we do this thing? So let me give you an example of one of the businesses which is going through our program. So there's a business called Aprakashi, which is based in Noga. And this is a business that's producing organic fertilizer and natural pesticides. And it's a business which has been going for a number of years, for about 5 or 6 years. And it's actually working at quite a fair scale at the moment. So it's providing its products to about 30,000 farmers in the local area. But this is a business which has real ambition to scale and to really change the face of farming in Bangladesh.
Jerry, what you are telling about the organic fertilizer industry, we have to hear this again.
So this is an example of one of the businesses which is going through our accelerator program, and it's a good example of the sorts of businesses that we're looking to support. So this is a business which has got a track record. They've been working for 5 or 6 years. They've established something which is sustainable, which is having a really good social and environmental impact, increasing the yields of farmers in the area. But they've got it to a certain level. But in order to really scale that business, they need some investment, but they also need some support around marketing, finance, just to really strengthen their management capacity. And that's exactly the sort of thing which an impact investor can provide. Both the patient capital, but also the support in those types of areas.
Do you think that rural entrepreneurs will be able to work in the management methods, what is learned from the university? They have their indigenous method, their own methods. Do you think the university learned methods and the rural methods will clash?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We ran a training camp for Open Accelerator back in May last year, 2014, where we invited our 20 entrepreneurs onto the training camp. And there we used a very innovative, interactive training technique. We used something called the business model canvas, which is something which is used in business schools and accelerator programs around the world. And I must admit, before the training camp, we were like, are the rural entrepreneurs going to be able to engage with this conceptual approach? But I think because we made it quite practical, quite visual, they engaged with it really strongly. And over the course of 3 days, they used this model to map out their business model, to look at which were the areas they needed to focus on in order to get growth, and also to help them prepare a simple growth plan for the business. And at the end of the training camp, we had all of the entrepreneurs were preparing their investor pitches, giving their 1 minute elevator pitches, and really capable of engaging with the process.
Just they need motivation, they work very well.
Yes, motivation, but they also need some help in terms of how to present themselves and how to present the investment opportunity. And I'll be honest with you, Kazi, we're still working with that group of 20 entrepreneurs. We have introduced nearly all of them to banks or impact investors, but we're still continuing that hard work of actually making the connections. So I think about your question, can we actually do this? It's still work in progress. But I think businesses like Aprakashi, the fertilizer business. We have another business which is called Lactavita, which is a milk processing business. We have so some great businesses that we're working with, which gives us a great opportunity to try and make those connections.
Now, how you feel that do you think we can connect with the rural governments, rural educational institutes with this entrepreneurship? Is there in scope? The rural governments, we have the rural governments in the rural areas. Can they support the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. That's not actually an avenue that we've really actively explored to date. We used 3 organisations who have a presence within rural Bangladesh in order to help us find the entrepreneurs and invite them onto the programme. So that's an organisation called Venture Investment Partners Bangladesh, an organisation called Team Engine. I think you know Himika, who runs Team Engine, and DRIC. We use their Rural Visual Journalist Network. So that was the way that we found the scouted for the rural entrepreneurs.
How they support you, like the DRIC and the Team Engine?
So Tinder Capital, we're based in Dhaka. So we don't have a good network in the rural areas, but these 3 organisations do. So we were able to use their team and their people, explain the accelerator programme to them, explain the application process, and they were the people who actually went out.
You told me the Swedish investors and some other impact investment, the foreign countries are investing in your project. Don't they find it risky because it's a new area?
Well, the investors that we've got associated with the project, so say we have 3 banks that I mentioned earlier, but in terms of the impact investors, there is a Dutch impact investor called Incluvest, there's an Indian impact investor called Avishkar, there is an investment exchange based out of Singapore called the Asian Impact Investment Exchange. There are 3 foreign impact investors. And there's also a couple of funds within Bangladesh, so Venture Investment Partners Bangladesh and BD Ventures. So there are investors there.
We have learned a lot of experience, a very exciting experience you have faced with your organization. How you see the economy of Bangladesh?
Well, I think the economy of Bangladesh is been growing quite significantly over the last decade. And I think it's forecast that growth is continued to forecast to grow. I think from an impact perspective, there's still a lot of obstacles and social problems in Bangladesh. I think it's approximately half the population live on $1.25 a day or less. And there's a lot of people struggling to access basic services like housing or water or sanitation. So I think from an impact perspective take on it, there's also where there is a challenge, I think entrepreneurship and business very often provides the opportunities. So yeah, that's another aspect of working in Bangladesh, which is interesting as an impact investor.
And you face people every day. You go to market, you go to everywhere in Bangladesh. You visit many areas in Bangladesh. Do you think that how they should be facilitated by the government and other government organizations for continuing their entrepreneurship spirit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where a whole range of actors need to play their part. And I know that the central bank is very active in its support of rural entrepreneurship, and some of the banks which are involved in Open Accelerator are also doing their part. But I think that there's more that can be done. I think from when we're looking at impact investing, there's still a bit of a nervousness from particularly international impact investors about the regulatory environment. You know, they are concerned about whether if they put money into Bangladesh, how easy is it going to be in order to get exits and to take their money out. I think that there's also issues for entrepreneurs, particularly if you're a rural entrepreneur. Although there are these low-cost loan schemes available, as I said before, sometimes they're not that well known about, not that easy to avail, and the headline lending rate of 18-20% is prohibitively expensive for many rural entrepreneurs. So yeah, I think that although it's an exciting area to work in, it certainly has a lot of challenges.
Where do you see Bangladesh economy after 5 years or after 10 years? You leave the reports of the Goldman Sachs and others. Your personal observation, your personal how you foresee the Bangladesh economy.
Yeah, I think that the economy is going to grow, no doubt. Our questions will be about how that growth affects different sectors of the population in Bangladesh, and whether people on low incomes, how much they benefit from the economic growth, how much that growth trickles through, and also how many innovative business ideas can come to the market which actually addresses the needs and the concerns of those people on low incomes. Because I think we could be fairly certain that sectors like the garment industry is going to continue. The IT sector is clearly a hot sector, but we think that growth is great. But we would also be really interested in, are there new business ideas or business models in the area of health or housing, which are not only going to contribute to economic growth, but also really improve the lives of the people at the bottom of the pyramid.
And do you think that Bangladesh will grow better than the other developing countries?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably will. I think the growth that we have seen over the last decade will probably continue. I mean, I think obviously political instability is an issue, but the Bangladeshi economy has seemed to be able to grow despite instability in the past. And
I need a detailed answer. As a chartered accountant, you are a chartered accountant, you work in many global companies. How you see the financial reporting in Bangladesh and financial sector's performance? What is your suggestion and what is your observation?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, particularly when we're dealing with rural entrepreneurs, because sometimes quite often we come across entrepreneurs who have two sets of accounts, one for the tax and one for the official things, and just understanding the importance of just being transparent, having your financial accounts don't need to be very elaborate, but they do need to be reliable, and they need to be up to date. So that's one of the things that we need to work on with the businesses coming through our program to stress the importance of the numbers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholson. Within a very short time, you have elaborated many things, many issues, and very important. From Ekatu, we thank you again.
Oh no, thank you.
প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা ছিলাম জেরি নিকলসনের সাথে, তিনি ম্যানেজিং ডিরেক্টর অফ ইম্প্যাক্ট ইনভেস্টমেন্ট কোম্পানি। বিশেষ করে বাংলাদেশে যারা যারা কাজ করছে একটা নতুন প্রতিষ্ঠান হিসেবে, এবং এই প্রতিষ্ঠান যেভাবে কাজ করছে তারা যে ফাইন্যান্সিংটা শুধুমাত্র অর্থায়ন করেই শেষ না, তাদেরকে মার্কেটিং, তাদেরকে প্রোডাকশন বিভিন্নভাবে সাপোর্ট করে তারপর একজন সাস্টেনেবল উদ্যোক্তা হিসেবে গড়ে তোলার যে উদ্যোগটা জেরি নিকলসন নিচ্ছে এবং কিন্ডার ক্যাপিটাল, আমরা আশা করি যে এটা সফল হবে এবং বাংলাদেশের যে পলিসি মেকার্স তারা এই ধরনের উদ্যোগকে কীভাবে সাপোর্ট দেওয়া যায় সে বিষয়টা খেয়াল রাখবেন, এই প্রত্যাশা রেখেই আজ এখানে শেষ করতে হচ্ছে। আপনাদের সবাইকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ।